Okay, if you're in your 40s and you've quietly decided that sub 3 has passed you by and that if you were going to run sub 3, you would have already done it, then I want to spend the next 10 minutes arguing why you're wrong. And I've got the physiology on my side. Here's the thing that nobody separates properly and nobody tells you straight. Something does fade with age, and that's real. I'm not going to insult you by pretending it doesn't. But what barely moves at all are exactly the components that you need to be a good marathon runner. And the whole game at 40 and above is knowing which is which. Because once you do know the difference and you do know what to work on, sub 3 stops becoming a fight against your age and starts looking like what it actually is, which is a training problem. In my experience, most of what a 45-year-old calls getting old is detraining. Or worse, still putting all the energy and effort but into the wrong things. Great thing is, it doesn't matter whether you've been running 2 months or 20 years. If you've been doing the wrong work, then that's great news, because detraining is reversible, and training exactly the right way will not only make you realize that it's not age that's standing in your way, but it will make you feel as if you've started running for the first time. Let me give you the honest part first, because if I skip this, then you shouldn't trust the rest. Of some of the top things that build the marathon engine, your VO2 max, your thresholds, your running economy, it's the VO2 max that age actually comes for. And it declines somewhere between 5 and 10% every decade from 30. That's well established. It's not a hidden secret, but it's worth knowing why it shrinks. And it's mainly because your maximum heart rate falls and your heart pumps a little bit less blood with each beat, but not because your legs forgot how to use oxygen. And that really matters because it points you in the direction of what you can train and what you can't. Your maximal heart rate is the one that you can't argue with. It drops by about 0.7 of a beat every year, and the studies are deep. It's one of the most reliable findings in the entire field, which is exactly why at any age, I would never use 220 minus your age to set your zones, or 180 minus your age to find your first threshold. But that exact point is why an older runner can sit at a higher percentage of their maximum heart rate for longer. And you'll often hear, oh, he's got a diesel engine and his 10K pace is not so much different in pace as his marathon pace. Sitting at a high percentage of the maximum heart rate for them is completely normal. It's not a warning sign, it's not something that's breaking, it's just a sum based on a number, the size of your engine, your VO2 max, that's coming down. There's another real cost as you age, and that's recovery time. The time it takes you to recover from hard session to hard session. Again, that's genuine, but it's a training design problem, and therefore it can be fixed. Now, here's where I turn it, and this is the part that should change the way that you see your age. That 5 to 10% decline that I just mentioned on VO2 max, most of it isn't biology. When researchers looked at why some runners' engines fade fast, while other runners barely move, about half of the whole difference came down to one thing: how much their training dropped off. Not their birthday, their training. The runners who kept the intensity, who kept the structure, who kept training, held that loss to 5% or 6% in a decade. The runners who let the training slide could be several times that. Is that not obvious? And there's no overclaim here. Continuing to train will slow the decline. It's not going to stop it. And the parts of that decline that are real, in your 40s, you're still on the gentle part of that slope. Peak endurance holds till you're about 35. And it only comes down modestly through 50 and 60. The steeper drop is after 60. And even then, look at two 60-year-olds you know. You got one who's doing an Ironman every 3 months and looks 35, and you got another who's drinking his way into an early death. But the key point is, you are in your prime if you're 40 years old. It's a winnable decade, and more so now than ever before. And that's not a pep talk, that's just the shape of the curve. Now, most of that was the bad news. This is the good news. Sub 3 is possible for any man, and I will stand by that. It is only a matter of time and training. What is the biggest indicator of marathon success? And specifically for this video, the biggest indicator of sub 3 success. It's your lactate threshold. And as we measure it, your 1 hour race pace, which of course closely correlates, because the faster you can run an hour, the faster you can run 3 hours. And that lactate threshold as a percentage of your VO2 max, if anything, trained older runners hold lactate threshold at a higher fraction of their ceiling than your younger runners. So although your ceiling is coming down a little bit, your ability to run right up against that roof for a long time is preserved. And of the key components that make up marathon success, your lactate threshold is the most trainable. It was to begin with, and now it counts even more. That is the physiological reason that sub 3 stays open for you in your 40s and beyond. I've got guys in their 50s and 60s running faster than they ever have, and they've been running for 20, 30 years. Running economy, how well you convert oxygen into speed, largely holds up too. And if you attack it like we do, like you have to, then it's not going to just largely hold up. It can be better than ever. If everything else stayed the same, but your running economy, your ability to convert oxygen into speed got better, you'd get better as a trainer and you'd get faster as a racer. And that's exactly the same for each of the other factors, each of the other components that make up a good marathon runner. If we're nudging multiple onwards, which we do, then this is where you get these huge breakthroughs. Because all of a sudden, after 20 years of doing it the way you've always done it, I've trained always this way and it worked from 4:30 to 3:20 for the marathon, but I just can't seem to get that final 10%. And now I'm 48, so it's never gonna happen, is it? 2:48. So what does it actually take to run sub 3 hours for the marathon? And that's what I see constantly. A runner 20 years in, and he's convinced he's hit his plateau. He's convinced he's hit his ceiling to a point where he needs persuading, and he's also not very happy about getting persuaded and seeing the result, because there's that part that, well, if I would have started this 10, 20 years ago, what would I have been now? I hear that pause and then, no, I don't want to use the word regret, but I definitely regret not doing things the right way. For the overwhelming majority of able-bodied men, sub 3 is not a talent question. It's a time, it's a consistency, it's a patience, it's relentlessly doing the right work for long enough. The constraint is usually your life, not biology. It's one of the biggest things I love about running, because you can be a great runner. It's always you against you, but comparatively, if you want to think that way, you can be a great marathon runner into your 50s and 60s if you work hard enough at it. Okay, so I've given you the biology, I've given you the physiology, so sub 3 is not off the table. But what's the bigger picture here? What is so much more important than 259 versus 301? I speak to guys all the time, 35, 38, 43. Often, the first thing out of their mouth is, well, I'm 35, I'm 36 years old, I'm not getting any younger. And so either I've got to do it now whilst I've still got time, or complete submission, my best races, my best running is behind me. You're 36 years old. And it's that very fact, that very belief that has put you on the back foot and continues to put you on the back foot over and over and over again. You've done the marathon block, it's gone imperfectly, like every marathon block. You get 2 weeks out, little sniffle, must be the flu. Terrible news. Or is it? Has that given them the reason why they're about to fail? Why all the colleagues, all the friends that they've been telling when the race was far enough away that they're going to run sub 3, they've now got a legitimate excuse why it's not. There's a name for that. It's self-handicapping. You need an excuse, and ideally many of them, and I hear all of them. You need an excuse of what to tell your friends, your peers, the people who you care about what they think, why you failed before you've even got to the start line. It's exactly the same with, I'm 43, I'm past my best running. I'm David against Goliath in this big battle against the sub 3. And if I win, I'm a major champion, but I'm likely to lose. So please lower the expectations of me. Let me lower the expectations of myself, because I've already voluntarily put myself on the back foot. 43 years old and they've finished. They've been out of university 20 years and it's all done. It's all downhill from here. So hear what I'm actually saying, because it's not a physiology problem, it's a perspective problem. And that same perspective problem is why people aim safe in the marathon and in distance running and in life in general. Because even at 43, they still care about what people think. Nobody cares. Nobody ever did care, and nobody ever will care. Not even your mum. She'll just be happy that you're sober. There's one thing that is true. You can't go back, so you're never going to get any younger. You've got today and tomorrow, and it can end at any moment, I promise you that. So if you turn up to a cross-country race and it's raining, brilliant. That makes it harder for everybody else. If you turn up to a Berlin Marathon and it's 37 degrees, not 27 degrees like last year, brilliant. They're going to be dropping like flies and I'm gonna be having the time of my life. But I'm not gonna be posting on social media why I didn't do what I said I was gonna do 6 months ago, and a picture of a stress fracture in a, I wanna be absolutely killing it in my 60s and 70s. Getting in shape to me is a joke. I respect it, everybody's got a different start point, but essentially, you're getting back to baseline. Walk through any airport and look around you. We're gonna see more and more of those carts that ferry people from gate to gate who can't even walk. You genuinely wonder how it's gonna end for them. I'll tell you how it ends. It ends with the kids and the grandkids coming to look after them because they cannot look after themselves. It was too cold in the morning. The gym was a bit of a drive away, and so I skipped it. Every single time you have a decision, and that's why when it comes to when to run in a day, first thing in the morning before somebody drags you onto a Zoom call. Get it done so that it's feeding, the running, the brain chemistry, it's feeding into the rest of your life. It's doing so much more than physically, physiologically, mentally building you. It's doing so much more. Running is so much more than just moving over the ground. It is character. So before you start writing yourself off that you're too old and you weren't able to do it in your 30s, so why is it possible now? Be the first to the ball, number one. Just want it more than anybody else. And when you've got the ball, don't let anybody take it off you. And if you're 36 and you're blaming age, have a good look in the mirror and figure out what you want from the next 60 years.